Thank you, Apostolos. Uh, as we discussed with Apostolos when the idea came about the Lesbos dialogues, we said that we should concentrate on the dialogue and not just a monologue. I'm here to present to you the views of the municipality, and as this first panel is about charting the current situation, maybe give you a brief overview about the situation right now. Because what we have now in Lesvos, what we face in Lesvos is really difficult. Apart from EU-Turkey statements or treaties or European member state interests, there are people here, human lives in need, and there is also a local community which it has fallen up to me to represent today that are in great need of help. So back in 2015, let us agree that we had to face a whole different situation than the one we are facing now in 2017 and of course in 2016. So we have to divide the crisis management period to prior the EU-Turkey statement, and of course the crisis management after the EU-Turkey statement. The differences are that we had mass arrivals in Lesvos, on average 6,500 to 7,000 people every single day. You have to imagine 275 boats arriving simultaneously on almost every part of the island. We have invited volunteers and NGO representatives. They know better than me what it is to have to respond to such a situation. So back then we had to improvise, let's say, on what we had to face every single day. So every day that we woke up, we had to face new challenges, something that the municipality, of course, wasn't prepared to do. And we had to do that in order to protect not only the refugee community, but the local community too. We had to act like a wave crusher in order to buy some time for the response of the European Union and of course the response of the central government. So back in 2015, a pivotal date was the 27th of September 2015, where we, with the cooperation of the Hellenic Police, we've managed to conduct a mass registration process in order to register almost 23,000 asylum seekers on the island. The next day we went back to zero, and we had the breathing time, the breathing space, in order to do some capacity building in Karatepe, in order to make some repairs in Moria, with the help, of course, of very few NGOs, and of course, since the very beginning, UNHCR. Let me express my gratitude to the first, let's say, UNHCR representatives that arrived on the island. Back then it was a huge help having someone who knows exactly what to do and want to do it every single day in the mayor's office. It was exceptional. I cannot emphasize enough how happy we were to see you every single day in those 4 hours meetings. So back then, the real issue was to find a place for the refugees and migrants in Lesbos, a place to stay, an accommodation area, and we created the accommodation center of Karatepe. In 2015, Karatepe was nothing more than some 25 tents and 20 water taps and 25 toilets. Nothing more. This is what we could do at the moment, but as you have probably known and seen from photos or seen yourselves, Karatepes is now, allow me, the best accommodation center, refugee accommodation center in the world. It's the first green site. We are implementing a lot of pioneering educational programs. Um, our residents collected olive oils and we produce our own olive oil. And this is all thanks to Mr. Stavros Mirogiannis, an exceptional site manager who has been working in Karatepe since the very beginning. So back to 2015, after that pivotal moment of September, we've managed to establish a system in place together with NGO representatives and UNHCR, where people were transported from the northern part and eastern part of the island to Mytilene, to Moria and Karatepe, and then after, let's say, 2 to 5 days, they were transported to mainland Greece. So more or less, Lesvos was a transit site for asylum seekers. This, do not mistake, does not mean that our hospitality was a welcome pass hospitality. It is also a welcome stay hospitality. And the local community have shown that for a very long time. So after the EU-Turkey statement, we've seen arrivals drop significantly to almost zero some days. But the real issue right now is that there are people that have to stay on Lesbos for a very long period of time, for almost 9 to 10 months, sometimes more, because they have to conclude all the asylum process in Lesbos, and then if they are granted asylum, they can be moved to mainland Greece, or as the EU-Turkey statement says, they can be readmitted back to Turkey or to their country of origin. So this is the main issue that we face right now. Even though arrivals are low, the population is building up, and problems start when you try to squeeze 4,500, 5,000, 6,000 people into a site that can only accommodate 2,500. This is, of course, bad not only for the refugees and the asylum seekers, this is bad for the local community. This is bad for the surrounding communities in Moria, because they have been in this situation for a very long period of time. They've seen and heard European officials and Greek government officials stating that within a respective period of time we will find a viable solution, but yet we find ourselves in a situation where we are on the verge of facing a new crisis. We have been to Brussels many times, so the local part of the crisis has been to the, let's say, upper European part of the crisis management. We've met President Juncker and Commissioner Avramopoulos several times. He said that it's not a matter of resources. So we said that we stand ready to facilitate, to help you with this crisis management, but we lack the resources. We are a small municipality and we lack the resources. Unfortunately, up to date, we haven't received the resources promised. We've seen European officials and EU Commission representatives coming and going, but there seems to be a real bottleneck somewhere that we need to find a solution within the current situation. So it seems that the asylum procedures are not moving fast enough in order to have a certain number of asylum seekers in Lesbos that could be accommodated in decent living conditions. And of course, those that are not entitled of international protection and they are not granted an asylum, they should be readmitted back to Turkey or to their country of origin, because it's bad for them to be stranded on an island, not being able to work or do anything. So what we have said is that if you have a huge problem, if you are faced with an international humanitarian crisis, you have to divide it. And if you divide it into these separate problems that each 5 islands have right now, and solve all the local issues, all of a sudden you've solved a large portion of the crisis. So we've suggested a bottom-up crisis management solution. So if we receive the resources, if we receive, it's not only funding, if we receive the resources from the central government, from the European Commission, from the EU member states, we could facilitate the crisis management response because we know better the place, we know the local community, we are closer to the local community, but of course, it contradicts EU law because funding cannot be received by the municipality. It has to be received through the regional government. So yet, one more time, we face a large humanitarian crisis, but we stick to the same rules, we stick to the same laws, we stick to the same bureaucratic procedures, and we do not have a fast-track procedure in order to deal with the crisis. As a municipality right now, after the EU-Turkey statement, we disengaged from everything. We only concentrate on providing decent living conditions within the accommodation center of Karatepe with the help and the cooperation of UNHCR and other NGOs. And what we have to do here is to solve the crisis locally and then address the whole issue, because my refugee crisis is an inherently complex situation that involves state interests, it involves European member state interests, the international interests of the Turkish government. So it's a very complex situation. So instead of trying to find an overall solution since the very beginning, we propose that we solve the problem locally and then nationally and then in a European level. So right now we hope that there will be a solution regarding the almost 7,500 people that are staying on the island right now, because it's not fair for the local community, it's not fair for the asylum seekers too, to face yet one more time days of 2015. These are days that we are trying to forget, to put behind us, and we hope that there will be an effective solution within the days to come in order for the local community to be able to bounce back, because they deserve it, because they've been standing in solidarity with the refugees for almost 2 years. So it is for the benefit of both communities that a viable solution is put in place. And there are no excuses. After 2.5 years, there are absolutely no excuses. We should have been prepared, and actually the municipality and the mayor himself has been sharing his concerns since the summer months of 2017. Since I get to write his letters, I can inform you that I've wrote since 2015 more than 165, 66 as from this morning. So nobody is responding. We've made proposals. We've stayed away from a mentality that points fingers and tries to shift the blame. So we hope that there will be a viable solution soon, because it's not, again, fair for the local community as well as the refugee community too. I'm really happy to answer any questions later, because, again, this is a dialogue, and please keep in mind that I'm not representing the central government, and of course I'm not representing the European Commission. So I would be happy to answer any questions on behalf of the municipality and what we did from 2015 until today. Thank you very much.